Hi, Ayushree.
Hi, Roonam. Very
Shikha had just joined, but I think she also joined from my ID.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there might have been that confusion. Yeah, the name already shows, so she'll just join back.
Yeah.
But very good evening, and thank you for agreeing to come to the Vidphone show. Excited for this talk with you and Shikha, and to know about your journeys. So, Roonam, we'll just wait a few minutes by the time Shikha joins. And also, just to let you know again that we are live now on all our social media channels on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. So, Akil would also share the link here so that in case you guys want to, send it to someone, please feel free. Hello, Shikha. Good
Hi
evening.
Ayushree, how are you?
All good. Thank you.
Thank you
I
for inviting.
No, very privileged to have you both on the show today. And I was just telling, Roonam, that both the social media, all the social, we are live on all the Vidphone social media channels. And so it's on the chat. So you guys, please feel free, to share it with your network,
Right,
if you want to join live this thing.
right.
So that's it. Yeah, so we'll just start. A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Vidphone show. We have two stellar women with us today. Thank you, Roonam and Shikha, for doing this for us, and we are very excited to speak to you about on your journeys. So I'll we'll keep the talk very candid, very this thing informal. We won't, and I would love for you guys to share about your obviously what you guys are doing professionally, but also please feel free to bring that personal touch, the personal side of things. To all the questions, and anything that you would like to add in addition to the questions I am asking, suppose there's something special you want to share, please feel free to do so. We generally see, like on the chat also, we take a few questions. They keep the questions pouring, and that at the end we would take those questions too.
Sure.
We also let people come live if they want to and ask their questions, or we just take it from the chat. So yes, so with that, we would start today's show. So Roonam, I'd like to start with you and ask you a little bit about your journey. What are you currently doing? And yeah, we'll start with that.
Sure. So, my journey is actually quite unconventional. I'm a physiotherapist by profession. So, I actually wanted to study medicine, and that's what I pursued. But after I started a clinical practice, I think my Marwadi genes pulled me into business one way or the other. So, my first venture I started when I was maybe 25 or 26. And at that time, it wasn't really called a startup or anything of that sort. But I saw an opportunity and went after it, and it kind of ballooned, mushroomed, became bigger. However, I moved from Mumbai to Bangalore and realized that the system out here was quite different from what I was used to. Fortunately, I came upon Portia, which is today India's largest home healthcare company. But at the time, it was a startup. It was quite small, and they were looking to grow and disrupt the home healthcare business. So I joined to initially grow the physiotherapy business, but over 7 years that I spent with them, I worked on multiple healthcare business verticals along with them. Towards the end, I led the home isolation program during the first wave of COVID. So Portia was a pioneer in home isolation, worked with 7 states, impacted millions of lives, and I got the opportunity to spearhead that. Last 2 years, I've been at HealthCube. Most of that time, I've been leading them as the professional CEO. So that's my journey so far in a nutshell.
Lovely, Roonam. And I can see, there has been, like you said, it's an unconventional journey where you have done like from moving from a physiotherapist to a professional CEO. So very interesting, and to know about all the different roles you have played. And I'm sure we'll know more about it as we go, forward in the session. Shikha, over to you, tell us a little bit about what you are currently doing. And yeah, we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Just before that, Shikha, I would just like to thank everyone, all the viewers who have joined us live. Patty, Shreya, Kavita, Akhil, Chandni. Thank you for joining us. And we have a lot of people watching us live too. So, yes, thank you everyone for joining us today. Over to you, Shikha.
Yeah, I especially want to thank Patty because it's very early for her where she's joining us from. So, yes, Kavita is here and others. Thank you for much joining. But Patty is joining from very far and she's it's very early for her for sure right now.
Thanks so much, Patty,
Uh,
for joining our show. Yeah.
so, I, as she said, unconventional. I think I am a very very unconventional profession since I've started at the age of 18. I'm India's first baby and child photographer, and I studied on those ancient cameras with film on it, with no batteries, and all the calculations had to be done and approximations. And then women were not photographers, and women never thought of being in the photography line when I got into it.
Yeah.
And I come from a big business family, but only artist born in a business family, I can say. Academics was not some of my, like, not something made for me. But once I got into photography, I never stopped, and created a path and did many things with photography. And I started something called Kids Say Cheese, brought family pictures and how to bring these moments to life for a long period of time for children. Some of the kids I've been photographing now for 18 years since they were born. And that from there, teaching photography, from heading a printing unit to heading a poetry organization for 12 years in Delhi to health initiative, where I have something called Health Diaries, where we promoted reversal of diseases and were very actively introducing that as a passionate project. To now, Mum, and Mum is Mothers United Movement,
Yeah.
where I have brought 100 inspiring stories of mothers together from globe, like all across, while raising my 4-month-old, with the vision of 100 days, 100 inspiring stories. And we just launched it in person. Patty was there all the way to joining us. Kavita was there. We had 40 of them joining us, telling their stories. And this particular thing is a very passionate project because it's about inspiring the mother of today through the 100 inspiring stories that I found very inspiring. And the fact that today's mother needs to be inspired to move forward in all the chaos she's going through. So that's a short intro to what I'm doing.
Thanks, Shikha, and lovely to know about your journey. And I'm so happy that we both of you have such different, interesting stories, and it's like very different fields, but getting you both together to this show, it's going to be interesting, is what I feel. And Shikha, many congratulations on the mum initiative. That's something very unique, and like I was talking to you yesterday also, and we would love to be a part of your initiative and help you scale and grow.
Love that.
So yeah, lovely on that. So Runam, coming back to you, I wanted to ask, you have said you have played a variety of roles in your career. So how has been the shift, like, Runam, from one thing to the other? What were some of the things that you would say that maybe helped you choose what you do next? Because in a way, there are so many things that you have done, and some not related to the. So what has been your motivation behind shifting and finally doing what you are doing right now and joining HealthQ?
Thanks. Firstly, before I answer your question, Ayushree, I must say, Shikha, what you're doing sounds amazing. And as you were speaking, I could remember Kavita talking about being part of your initiative when I met her, and it's fabulous to see the person behind all the good work that she described. It would be great to catch up offline as well, and learn more. So that was a side note. But Ayushree, to answer your question.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned is that a lot of skills that we pick up when we're doing anything it is that we're doing are
Yeah.
transferable skills, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so, like I mentioned when I was introducing myself, is that my Marwadi genes kicked in. And like Shika also said, we're from business families. Our dinner table conversations are often basically B school concepts that people go to school to learn.
Yeah.
Concept of opportunity cost, for instance, is
Yeah.
something that people only learn in an MBA, but which I kind of grew up hearing about.
Yeah.
Similarly, talking about interest and interest as in I'm talking about interest rates, not
Yes.
not hobbies and interest. So
Yeah.
conversation around profits, around interest rates, around cash flows. What were dinner time conversations between my dad and other people who were involved in his business. So these are all transferable skills. While I
Yes.
had a medical background that helped me to get into healthcare startups, It was really my business background from my family that
Yeah,
helped me to very quickly understand what the business needs were.
yeah,
And what I did have to learn, however, is how business is done in today's world, which is very different from a traditional family business, which is very different
true.
from my father's world.
Yeah,
Things like spending on marketing, it's not really something that banyas do.
yeah,
Things like valuations of a startup.
yeah,
I remember
yeah,
when I first talked to my dad about the business I was in at that time, Portia. He did a
yeah,
back of the envelope calculation, and we weren't profitable at the time. And he said, "This isn't making sense. Why are you doing this?"
yeah.
So the two have to marry. Today's,
Yes,
what business looks like today as you're scaling a tech startup versus
yeah,
what a traditional businessman is looking at. Those two worlds have to marry, and that's something I had to learn. But
yeah.
I think inherent business skills just come to us.
Yes. Yes, yes. No, completely agree, Roonam. And I can resonate with you both when you guys say, the business family concept, because I have been from a business family myself, and all the discussions. In fact, a lot of people ask me, why, because I have been an entrepreneur myself. I know
Yeah,
that always worked in circles. Like I was with a platform where we were helping women build up their businesses, startup, scale up, even with
yeah,
Vidphone, as heading the business side of it. So it's always been a journey, where supporting startups, and so everyone asks. So this is a thing I always use, because I've grown up, listening
yeah.
to stories about business, how to scale up, and how to grow a business, I mean. And like you said, and coincidentally, I'm married to a Marwari now, so so both the families, and it's all like business talks all the time, so I completely resonate with you both. And thanks for sharing that, Runam. It's very crucial, like you said, for both the worlds to merge. What we like, the skill sets we get, but now the new, and for both the generations to adapt to it also, to work peacefully. Because now we nowadays we also see a lot of youngsters, or a lot of people in our age also take on to the family businesses and grow that. So to get the new skills like investing in marketing, sales, etc., those have to, like, the older generation has to accept that.
Accept.
Yeah. So great conversation there. Shikha, over to you. And here I wanted to ask Shikha, like you said, maybe in your family, you from a business family, you have chosen a profession which is a little different, right? So what was your motivation behind that? And and we can see that you here are an entrepreneur. You have your own this thing. So you could have easily maybe joined a job also, but why not that? And how, like, what was your motivation behind having your own thing, starting up for yourself and choosing this?
So, firstly, I'm sorry for I was constantly listening to you guys. I have
Yes,
usually my children's problem just the way I go on. The minute I go on interview, I have my kids' problem, but I always get into my interviews, as I already mentioned to you yesterday.
I know, no problem. We
There is
told
there is
Roonam,
my
we're just telling Shikha yesterday, it's fine if her kids show up at the
yeah.
interview,
No,
and
it's I
that's
have no option. I've showed up with
yeah,
100 different
Mine,
jobs.
mine might show up as well.
Yes.
no problem,
So
no problem.
Uh, so coming back, one job was never an option for me. I was always this vagabond roaming around, artist, head, my own thing. If Tare Zameen Pe is totally my film. I've struggled tremendously academically all my life until I reached the arts, which I hated. I didn't want to take it because during our time, arts was not a subject that was to be taken very,
I
you were
know.
put in it. You were never supposed to take it. Till I reached there and I started to succeed and I became a photographer. And then photography happened to me. Uh, some things, like it's just, I just joined getting fascinated with it. Literally took the camera from my dad's cupboard, which he was very upset about one fine day because after his daughter, the second best thing was his camera. And I went to flaunt my camera to Chandni Chowk, a very heavy metal camera with heavy, tripod, trying to drag it to show everybody, oh, I have this big camera. And I came back, and so I have a very, again, stories are like I've just it's coincidentally into it, right?
Yeah.
I just got into it, so I never like really thought where I was going, but I always picked up messages. So I picked that camera up, came back, got my piece of shouting. I just went for the film, and that film got processed, and then I received my first award with that first film. And then one after the other, the
Follow.
Venkateshwar College kept on promoting me, saying that let's do some exhibition, put you in the fine arts. My fine arts department came and said, here is this course. which is coming to India from Australia, and you must do it. And that banging of the door was my son getting upset because I'm ignoring him on the side of the screen. So, and I'd like to bring this on because it is tough for mothers to show
Yes.
up, and we
Yeah.
must not be apologetic about it because we are
Yes.
dealing with two things at the same time. And hats off to all of us that we can do it with a big smile on our face. So,
Yes.
there is some fight happened and some juice has dropped, and he wants me to address it right now. And but anyway, so having said that, I got into it, and yes, my business family was very upset about it for some time because photography was this passport size pictures being taken in a small shop, or this jhola kind of not these exotic wedding photographers were there in India at that
Yes.
time, right?
Yes.
So they only two times they saw photographer either in a small passport picture size, or they saw it in some event with or
Yeah.
the journalism. And there were some women who were very known in the journalism world, but I was here saying that I'm going to study, and thanks to my dad, like he gave in very easily and said, okay, let her become a photographer. So um, uh, he knew my academic result anyways. He's just like, let her try this. So sometimes I'm in speaker events where I have to tell my truth because I also am standing up with that you can carve your ways the way you want to,
Yes.
and get supported. So I think that's about it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
can say about the business class family, and then accepting it totally. And then I
Yes.
brought in child and family photography to this country.
Yes. No, absolutely, Shikha. And, I'm sure so many of us, I think across generations can resonate with this, right? Like take science. Science is like, science, and then commerce would come, and arts would like be the last thing, and photography, designing, all those things would like, doctor, engineers, or you become an IS officer. I mean, those things were still. Now it's like, so like till few years before, my father would still tell me, after everything, after I'm doing well, why don't you just apply for IS? I was like, where does it come from, right? I mean, it keeps coming back, I feel. And we see this a lot in Indian households, I would
Yeah,
say.
it was tougher 23 years back. It was even more tough
Yes, yes.
23 years
Now
back.
it's much more, I think, even parents, they really, everyone really sees the potential, right? In alternate careers and everything. Like there's a lot of scope right there. But
Yes.
yeah, Shikha, lovely to know your journey. Maybe next question I would, Roonam, I would want you to share a little. So now we spoke about both your journeys and, like what you currently are doing, and what inspired you to be here, like, at this stage of your journey. So now a little bit about, maybe one or two customer interactions, or, any client thing that you remember. Your work, the work you are doing has, validated in a, not validated, I'm not saying like, validated in the made you happy, made you say that, yeah, you are really proud of what you are doing. Like, some customer interaction or a client, this thing, like any story that you would like to share.
So, two very specific incidents come to mind when you ask that question.
Yeah.
The first was actually the first client that I won in my first venture
Mhm.
called Work Ergonomics. So,
Okay.
I was, like I said, I was 25, 26. Now when I look back, I realize I didn't know my head from my elbow.
Yeah.
And I walked in to talk to the MD of VKT Tires. Um, Honestly, through a friend, a school
Yeah. Okay.
friend was his daughter-in-law, some random stuff like that. And she said,
Okay.
you know what, come meet him. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pitch.
Yeah.
So I went and I proposed what I had to, and I said I'm going to charge 20K an
Yeah.
hour, which again, 15 years ago, so it's
Yeah.
exorbitant.
Yeah.
And he said, that's ridiculous, and why would I, pay you that much money?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what came upon me, but I said, get your 20 most important people in the room. I will deliver my workshop for them. And if you love it, you do it for everybody, your entire office.
Yeah.
And if you don't love it, you know, that's it. No harm, no foul. You don't have to pay me at all.
Mhm.
And I think he just found me really amusing because he was this 60, 65-year-old gentleman, and I'm this 25-year-old overconfident woman who thinks, I'm asking for a fair price. So he said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I slept at all that night because in my head, I was rehearsing the entire workshop. And I think that was my best job, my best workshop I've ever delivered because it was do or die. It was the
Yeah.
first client. Had I not landed that, I would have never ended up really doing that business.
Yeah.
And of course, the reason I'm sharing the story is because it went really well. He cut
Yes.
me my 20,000 check. And he also did this workshop for 220, I think 220 odd people in his office. So it became my first client, also became my biggest client for an entire year.
Yeah.
And more than that, I mean, of course, it gave me a lot of, I made over a lakh from it. But what it did was it really built my confidence.
Yes.
I suddenly believed I can run this business and I can, hire consultants and I can make it big. So that I think was really what he did, what that first check did for me.
Yeah.
And another one is from a very different part of my life. I was in Portia and uh, I was looking after five verticals. One of the verticals I was looking after was corporate relations.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, COVID first wave, right? So home isolation was taking up all of my time.
Yeah.
And what I essentially did was I had people in my team and I kind of dumped the rest of the work on them. And I said, do it to the best of your capability because this is urgent and important. So
Yeah.
I was kind of hands off, and we had a huge escalation with an MNC. I won't take name. A
Okay.
really large client, very, very meaningful for the organization. This is at a time, and I'll remind you, COVID first wave.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
startups are wondering about survival,
Yes.
right? And Porter as a home healthcare business,
Yeah.
travel stopped, entry into residence stopped. So our physiotherapy business shut down overnight. A lot of our businesses had to recalibrate, and we were really scrambling. So
Yeah.
this was an
Yeah.
important client.
Yeah.
And the reason we goofed up was basically because I didn't have my eyes on the ball. So
Yeah.
they asked for a escalation call, and they insisted that the CEO come on the call. So
Hmm.
Meena Ganesh is going to be on this call. I'm going to be on this call, and this little bacha of mine is going to be on the call. And
Okay.
of course, I mean, to be candid, like you said, she's shedding bricks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, okay, you know what? Let's look at what happened. And we goofed up. It was our fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll make a deck and we'll say this is what we did wrong and this is our plan. It's
Yeah.
simple. It's for slides. And we started the call. We did the introductions, and I did the presentation as though I had been in charge, obviously because we goofed up. So you take responsibility. And we started by saying what we'd done wrong and how we'd messed up, how we'd received their complaints. I hear you. These are the five things that have already changed. These are the three things that will continue to change. And the clients were blown. They came to scream at us, and it was such a cordial call that in the middle of the call, the CEO messaged me and she said, is this supposed to be the escalation call? Is this the call I'm supposed to be on? Because she had come prepared to hear the client scream and to profusely apologize. But instead, the client kind of looked at our plan and said, we understand there are teething troubles. We understand COVID has made everything difficult. We
Yeah.
understand you're trying your best. These are two things we take care. It's just such a friendly call. And when
Yeah.
we hooked up, this teammate of mine called and she said, Runam, what did you do? Did you have a separate conversation? Like, what did you do? I said, I did nothing. I did what you saw. I mean, that's all we did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I think I learned that day that sometimes we have to accept what we've done wrong, and just taking responsibility will diffuse
Yeah.
many fights.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, certainly, Roonam, and such interesting, I'm so glad I asked you this question, in fact, because such two very different but such interesting revelations you have done and stories that you shared, and both have very good takeaways, right? The first one, you said how sometimes you just take a chance, right? In that chance meeting, I mean, it somehow happened, but that confidence that you had in that meeting to say that, get me those 20 people, actually, like built your confidence more and it worked out for you. And I'm sure this story would give someone who's viewing us right now that courage, to go and do what they have been meaning to. And the second story where you said, accepting sometimes that we are wrong and then moving ahead, that's also very key, because sometimes you are so involved in I mean like telling that how, like, to find excuses, or just to push away if we have done something wrong, or so sometimes it's just much better if we accept it and move on from there. So wonderful, Roonam, and thanks a lot for sharing those with us. Moving to you, Shikha, two experiences of yours, with your clients, with your mums, I would say, or with your any like, it might be a mom experience, it might not be, but I have heard two very interesting ones yesterday also. But if you might want to share, I would love to hear more, or even them with all the other viewers. So please do share with
I
us.
don't remember what I shared with you, but because I just keep sharing so much. I have so many stories to share. My life is
No,
a
I'm
story.
sure all will be
Um,
interesting. So please go
but
ahead.
I don't know what I shared yesterday, but so I would like, if I have to give a piece of inspiration from photography and then a piece of inspiration from the dream project of mom, I would like to give one sentence because this is a 25 years gap in between both of them. And we'd, uh, you know, so anybody who wants to start something new,
Yeah,
there's always hesitancy, and there's always whether I will uh, succeed or I will not succeed, and there's always 100 people telling you that you're totally crazy to do what you're
yeah,
doing, and it
yeah,
will not succeed.
yeah.
So when I started baby, I was all of 19 years old, and
Yes,
I told my the college that I will only do baby photography as a
yeah,
specialization. And they tried to
yeah,
convince me. I was very good with fashion. I was very good with product, but I'm like, no, my heart is with this. And they had to bring down a teacher just
yeah,
to give the specialization in children photography. Now
yeah,
you're a 19-year-old. There is no baby family photography ever being heard,
yeah,
and the concept of nazar is so strong, and you're so possessive about your children that this little girl who's never been a mother is going to come and handle our children and a newborn baby, and she's going to handle the newborn baby, and she's going to come in and where she's going to put the pictures and what she's going to do. And
yeah,
anyway, the film camera was very tough to do. You just had 36,
yeah,
not like today we had 2000 of, and then one comes out and then you give it to the digital guy and then the digital guy changes it all over for you. We
yeah,
just had that chance of 36 and maximum two films or three, even three films were considered that you've shot a lot if you've done things. So you can imagine the precision we needed with the calculations,
yeah.
everything. We can't go to the lab after 7 days and say, sorry,
We will
the child
yeah,
has suddenly become 7 days old. The 1 day child is going to always remain. They've been paid to shoot the first day. You need to get the first day. Every
yeah,
day was very important. Mundan is done. You're
yeah,
doing the first Mundan portraits. It's not going to come back.
yeah,
So for that kind of level at 19 to take the responsibility and to move forward was quite a convict. I don't know where I got it from. Maybe I was a rebel or I just wanted to do it and I was very sure. But my first assignment was with DPS International at that time, and it had opened its school. And I went to the principal and I said, so the portfolios were very big at that time. They were not
yeah,
this little digital stuff. We had to like print big pictures
yeah,
and present it and scrapbook it and do it. So I
yeah,
went there and I entered her room and she looked at this 19-year-old wanting work. And I'm like, so she said, what do you want? So I was like, I want to photograph all the kids for your first year anniversary. You've just launched the school. And I want that I would like you to exhibit your school's first year. And that was not heard of at that time. Even the
okay,
almanacs had, caricatures and
yes,
drawings. They never
yeah,
heard of
student,
and I had given them ideas of using kids' pictures in the brochures and into the. So I'm very ancient that way. So on visiting cards and do
yeah,
greeting cards, and she's looking at me. She's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, look at my work." And touch wood, my work was pretty good
yeah,
at that time. And that's another story. A lot of stories of how I reached there. But she looked at me and she's like, "How much time do you need?" I said, "3 months." And uh, you know I ended up getting paid 23 years back 3.5 lakh rupees for that work,
yeah,
uh, you know by an international, because the elevation of their brand and then bringing photography to the world and bringing this
yeah,
new era at that time.
yeah,
And nobody knew I would be getting paid that. Of course, I used all that up to create my pictures and print more and do more and everything. But I was to hide under the benches, and I made friends with people. I had equipment all over me and I had no assistants, and I still did it, and my family would just wonder, where am I doing, what is she doing? I would be sitting in art labs. And so the reason I'm telling you this is that I don't know how I got that, but I just knew I have to do it. And that's the only thing you need to know when you start anything, that you must do it, and you must do it now. We don't know what the result is going to be. We don't know where it's going to come, where it's going to take. And today, see, baby photography is the only way, like, people would want their first like pictures. They jump in, and from that to mom,
yeah,
I was talking again. I had a 4-month-old, totally breastfeeding my child, with sleepless nights. Went straight away saying 100 days, 100 inspiring mothers are going to be found. And every day I had to like find and know the stories and find, and then odd timings and sleep nights, having my child in my lab while interviewing these incredible mothers that I've met. And again, just out of the blue, without knowing where it's going to reach, it ended up being acknowledged by the Prime Minister of this country, because I again dreamt and said, an Indian mother is bringing 100 mothers across the world together. I need the letter so that the media can be pushed. I was a very transparent letter sent to him, and I just like gave it away. And I did receive a beautiful note from his office when the postman came and said, "Ma'am, we've never got a call from Home Ministry sending the letter," and the letter arrived with the postmaster. Like it was a big day for them locally to get,
Yeah.
and of course. So I definitely thank him for giving me that acknowledgement, and I could move forward. And more than that, many transformations, connections that happened when women came from different parts of the world just to tell their stories, just for 2 minutes on this stage in this country, of somebody who just has 700 likes on Instagram.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah.
So that's too inspiring. Again, likes doesn't matter. Your connections matter, your relationship matters, your dream matters, and the fact that you're walking every day on it matters, and nothing else does. And both the examples have that in common.
Yeah.
What I can say.
Yeah. No, thanks, Shikha. Very interesting examples. And even it's very, both of you, the loveliest part is that, there are such varied experiences, and, so the examples and, the stories are coming from different spheres. So, it's going to even like reach more people, and, it's like just people can connect more, right? We have a few lovely comments too. Kanchan, thanks for joining. Kanchan has a question for us, but we'll take that at the end, Kanchan. Kavita has a comment saying, accept and take responsibility. Annapurna says, you are truly a trailblazer. That's for you, Roonam. Annapurna again says that the story of the letter is so exciting even to listen, Shikha. And, agreed, Annapurna, even the first time I heard about the letter, Shikha, that you shared, it's really, and the happiness that the people who got it to you also, right? So it's a community. I mean, you make, your deeds have made the entire community happy and a part of it. So moving on, Shikha and Roonam, I would like to ask Roonam a little bit now. Maybe we can, now role models. Role models play a very key thing in our lives. And when I say role models, I don't really mean just professional, mentors. Obviously, mentors are very important. And I'd love for you guys to touch upon that too, the role of mentors in your lives. But even in your personal life, 1 to 2 role models that you would like to share with us about, who has been your who has really helped you in your journey, navigate this journey for you. And also basically, whenever I ask this question, this thing that I'm giving you guys is, they always say that we cannot name 1 or 2, there are so many of them. So please feel free to talk about anyone you want, but I'm just saying 1 or 2 to keep the question more like, so it's on you how you want to share about them, both personal or professional. So over to you, Roonam.
Thanks, Ayushree. I think you already preempted me by saying it's hard to name 1 or 2, but I will name just one actually role model, and that's actually my nani, my mom's mother, my grandmom. She is no longer with us. She passed away about 5 years ago, but she was brilliant actually, but unfortunately, she was born at a time when she wasn't allowed to excel, right? I remember her stories. She was married off on, her marriage was fixed, and she wanted to study, and she was really, really good at her work. So she negotiated with her father, and her father said, "Last day of your metric, you will get married." Her last exam was a math exam, and one of her regrets, right till the end, was the fact that her brother pulled her out of the exam before she could finish the last question. So she got a 96 on 100 and not a 100 on 100. She missed a 4 mark question. That's how brilliant she was. She got married into a super traditional family, mother-in-law, huge extended family. My grandfather was just starting out a business, which was a manufacturing unit, textile unit. So she would cook for 100 factory workers plus the extended family. She'd wake up at 3:34 a.m. And make a pile of rotis and whatever else. So that's the kind of life she had.
Yeah.
She had 3 daughters, because of which her mother-in-law wanted her son to get married to someone else. All the drama, of course, my grandfather, fortunately for him, didn't do it.
Yeah.
But she had 3 daughters, and then her sister passes away.
Oh.
So she goes ahead and adopts 3 of her sister's kids. So she basically raised 6 kids.
Yeah.
And through all of this, she ran a business of her own. And that business was basically to bring together the widows and the otherwise destitute women of the village. they'd cook. So she set up a place, they'd
Yeah.
cook, they'd sell that in the village, and it was a profit sharing business.
Yeah.
So at that time, when ESOPs and things, fancy titles like that did not exist, she believed in creating profit and creating wealth for the community and for the women who otherwise lacked opportunity, but did not lack talent, did not lack grit, did not lack in ability to work hard. So I have gone to that place. I have seen all of these women, papad and khakra and
Yeah.
chips and whatnot would be made.
Yeah.
She'd get orders after orders after orders. All of these accounts would be maintained in a notebook, and she could do math in her head, right?
Yeah.
So all of her accounts, basically, because Excel sheets obviously did not exist,
Yeah.
uh, from addition to subtraction to profit division to knowing who's worked how many hours and therefore what they should get. She was basically the bookkeeper running this business.
Yeah.
And every time, and through all of this, right, she managed to connect with the community. She managed to connect with all of our
Exactly.
grandchildren, and we are all different generations.
Yeah.
I took her to Singapore. I took my grandparents to Singapore because they could not communicate in English. So I was 18, but I was in charge of the trip.
Yeah.
And she bought me halters and spaghettis and tops that my mother would not allow me to own. Because she said, okay, this is what the world looks like today. This is
Yes.
what your friends are doing. I was Bombay educated and stuff, and it's fine. I mean, this is where the world is, and this is where we have to go.
Go.
So while she was brought up in a super traditional family, and she had all the reasons to be bitter
Yeah.
and to constantly think about what she could have achieved in a different time in a different country. She held none of that. She wanted to see her daughters excel. She wanted to see her grandchildren excel, and she continuously found ways to give back.
Yeah.
I think if I have to look at one role model, both personal and professional,
Professional. Yeah.
she would be it.
Yeah. No, thanks, Roonam. This is like really, it's so nice to hear about your grandmother on this show today. And like you said, like women like her, like, still inspire women today, right? Because, she today we might have so many privileges, right? We are a part of the privileged society and everything. But that time, even when she did not have those set of privileges, she, like you said, she would, she would not say no to you, because that's the acceptance she gets, right? I mean, that's the acceptance she has, and that's what it requires to move ahead. Like, that's why, I mean, you are speaking on this show about her today because of that also, right? I mean, that's the bond that she created. I mean, that's the impact she left. No, wonderful. And thank you so much, Roonam, for sharing about your grandmom. I'm sure everyone here, it's been an inspiring story. And here, we'll go to our next question, where we talk about communities, the importance of communities and how crucial it is. And your grandmom, even being at that age, she actually got these community of women together, and she enabled them. She was an enabler for them in a way. So lovely. Shikha, what about you? Role models you would like to share about?
Okay. Well, my role model is only one, my dad. He's a yes parent, and I'm learning still as being a parent. I am still learning how to say yes like him, and I am terribly failing for sure at it. I just keep going back to him. I'm like, how did you do to this? We belong to a big joint family, and you did this yes to a girl during that time, to say yes to a girl in a place like Delhi, to come at 2 o'clock, stuff like that, and still not say a word, but just ask how your evening was or how things were. So just say, to tell you what kind of a support a child might need to be able to do an unconventional thing. I'll give you 2 examples of his. He's my soulmate anyway, and as I mentioned, that I was raised without my mother, by a beautiful joint family. But one fine day, this 18-year-old with her camera reaches his office and says, well, I'm going to Kerala to shoot elephants because I've told my college that I want to go elephants, And he's like, you're not going to Kerala at all. So I'm like, Dad, I am going to Kerala. I've promised, and my promise is my promise. So he says, I'll think about it. And I knew that it's not going to happen. So I went to WWF in Delhi, near Khan Market. And I went and asked them, where do you get these elephants in the birthday parties? They come from somewhere in Delhi. Of course, they can't be coming from very far because they're walking in Delhi to
Yeah.
these birthday parties. So they're like, oh, they're near the Yamuna bridge. You will find all the elephants right there near the river. Fine. I call him and I'm like,
Yeah.
Dad, I'm going to Yamuna bridge right now for a shoot because you're not letting me go there. So he was on speaker and he had a police guy who was like with the police, and he said his friend, she's going where? She's like, she's going to the Yamuna bridge, she said. She's like, all the criminals and all the rapists and everybody hide there, so she's not going there. And my father's like, you're not going there. So I'm like, I am going there. Either Kerala or this, decide now. Because, that's how I was. And he said, okay, wait. So he's like, I'll meet you near the Yamuna. You don't go down, but I'll come there. So he comes, and he comes with two constables with him because he asked his friend to send two constables with him. And I said, okay, fine, because I was very close to my dad. I never thought he's interfering in my work. He's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll just be with you and we'll go in. So we go to this village inside in Yamuna Pushti, and there are these elephants. And now this girl wants to take the elephants across the river because the photo is going to come better across the river, which is where actually the criminals hide, which is the forest area where everybody is hiding, and there's shooting happening with the police encounters every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what I want. And so he's like requesting the mahouts and everything that let's take two elephants. She wants to just shoot. How do you catch the elephant baby and torture them and take them away? So 6 elephants were, he had to pay this guy some money to take the 6 elephants all the way across, and a baby elephant. And then the whole shoot was done, that how they catch and isolate the baby elephant and get the baby elephant. And I was all back sleeping nicely. And poor guy, was walking thinking from where she's going to be picked up or whatever.
Yeah.
So having a yes parent like that, at that time, to know and to just not know what she's going to do, and that to a profession where women were not there. And just like this, one day I was lying to him and I said, Dad, I'm going with a big group of people, and I want this in Rajasthan, this desert and this very big, for my exhibition, this dry tree, and I'm going to go search for it. And he said, okay, I think that's all right. And he's yes parent, as I said. So he just woke up early, and I was sneaking on with just one of my friends, and I'm 19 years old. Both of us trying to drive a college down to Rajasthan. And then looks at me, he's like, only both of you are going? I'm like, sorry, I lied to you. I told you the group is going, but only both of us are going. With the driver, yes. Just hold on here, just stay here. And I'm like, okay. I said, I'm gone. This plan is gone. I'm not going to get that picture. He packs his bag, cancels his meeting, puts his bag, sits in the car and says, okay, I'm going with you. And he was with us for 6 days just looking for that tree, which was a horrible picture. I don't know what I did. We had more time trying to get that because we were amateur photographers. So, to give that support to the dream of your child.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate to marry a man who, when I started to talk like this about mom, raising my children, breastfeeding them, and wanting to say, no, I'm not going to put bottles, I'm not going to give them away. They're going to be with me doing this project.
Yeah.
He just supported it through and through, very proudly, standing right next to me and saying, you keep going. It's tough. It's horrible. The sponsorship was a problem. There were many, many, many hurdles, but he kept on standing. Both these men were standing and saying, nobody touch her, she's creating something. And the mom happened just like that. So I want to give the credit to men in my life for this role model as well. And I don't think I would have moved forward without such loving men. And now mother of 2 more boys. So I just have men energy around me supporting me to go ahead.
No, lovely, Shikha, lovely to know about. And I love the term yes parent, I mean, that's a very lovely term.
Tough to do.
Yeah.
Very tough to do. I can't do it myself. I don't know how he does it. But I want him to say yes to me whenever I say anything. I'm like, you say yes.
Still. So that continues for you. Yeah. So good luck with you being the yes parent too, like you said. But thanks for
Get the
sharing.
hair getting white with saying yes. It's quite a thing.
No, thanks for sharing that about your dad, and like you said, when they give you that thing, when they trust you that way, and, that yes parent term also means I have seen a lot of, my friends or, people around me also, who doesn't, I mean, if you're not lying to them sometimes, it's like it might be a little difficult to convince, but then that trust also builds up for them too. Because once you start lying about something, it's not just one lie, it just keeps going, right? One thing leads to another. And I mean, it might be different for different people, but completely resonate with what you said. And in fact, I was
And
reading a very interesting quote the other day. I don't exactly remember the quote, but it meant like nowadays, when you like, once you, and you guys will resonate with it more, but I was just telling my mother about it, that once you have a kid now, like, you have to, it's not just about putting what your thoughts are on him, like on him or her, like about how your rules are. It's also about learning the new ways with them in their generation, like what Roonam was also telling, right, while sharing a story about her grandmom. So these are a few things. And thank you so much, Shikha and Roonam, for sharing both
I
about
just
your
want to say
grand.
one
Yes.
thing there, Ayushree, is
Yeah.
that it's the acceptance of our children that we need to work on.
Yes,
My
exactly.
dad knew who his daughter was.
Yeah.
Either it will be with him or without him.
True,
Period.
true, true.
He knew he's created a devil. Either she'll do it, but she'll do it in a unsafe way. Then she will do it when I am there. And
Yeah,
if we start accepting our children, and that's
exactly.
what I'm learning myself, that
Yeah, yeah,
just the way they are, they will turn out all right because the connection is not lost.
yeah.
And I also want to tell about Roonam's grandmom story. I was very close to my grandmom. What an incredible woman. I wish we could bring her in the book somewhere. What an incredible story that is, Roonam. What an incredible woman. And as I always say, the ripple effect goes down
Yeah.
when a woman is empowered or she is an empowering person. And you can see it in Roonam that it's coming down from her because she decided to be that way. So when we decide to be a certain way as moms, we will put the ripple effect down the next generation or next
Certainly.
generation.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
And with that, we come to the, like, such a good way to end. You spoke about the ripple effect, and my next question was on communities, how communities are so crucial nowadays. There might be so many actually, but finding those communities, your inner circles, in a way, where you can actually help collaborate, help build each other up, not just professionally, but personally. Today, you both have shared such personal stories with us too, right? I mean, that's the kind of community we also at Vidphone want to, build, create, and support, within our this thing too. So, Rudam, your thoughts on communities, what's the importance of communities, importance of networks, and your tips to entrepreneurs, others, entrepreneurs, founders, leaders, in for that.
I think, Ayushri, if there was one thing I wish I knew when I was much younger, it would be this,
Yeah,
the importance of networks.
yeah,
My dad would allude to it all the time. He would say, your circle matters. And I don't think I fully understood the import of what he was saying until, probably now, when I've grown much older and I realize how much I lean on all of my networks, right? Whether it's, I mean, my closest friends remain my school friends.
yeah,
You still go back. I mean, I still go back to Portia. I've left Portia 2.5 years ago.
yeah,
And so many people have moved on. But I know that if I pick up the phone and I call that community of Portians, I will find help because I've built my credibility there. I've
yeah.
actually moved my house exactly 2 days ago, Ayushri. In fact, that's the
And
reason
I
I was
remember
finding it
you
difficult.
sharing that with me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yes,
And I really enjoyed being part of that community because honestly, I was there during COVID
yeah,
and they leaned on me. I was the healthcare professional, I was the one with the information,
yeah,
and that was fulfilling. So it's not just about getting from your network, it's equally about giving. It's literally like a web, right? Where
yeah,
each one of us is connected to another,
yeah,
and we mutually support, we mutually grow. As
yeah.
someone who's migrated
Mm-hmm.
multiple times, right? I'm from Mumbai. That's where my family is. I've studied in Pune. I'm now in Bangalore for the last 10 years. I think we built communities in every city and
Yeah,
through various stages of life. And
yeah,
each of these communities are critical in shaping who we
yeah,
are critical for us to kind of lean on. I
yeah,
remember this one incident. I was fairly new in the society I was living in, and my father-in-law, who's old and diabetic and all of that, had a small fall. Right, my
yeah.
husband's office was really far,
Mhm.
and I just put it on the society group that he's at home, with a domestic helper, and he's
Yeah,
had a fall. It took me 15 minutes to get home. In those 15 minutes, there were 8 neighbors in my house.
Yeah.
Two of them were keeping my 2-year-old occupied in the hall because they didn't want her to go in and look at all the blood, etc.
Yeah.
The other 5 or 6 of them had band-aid hit him. They had found a doctor's number, called somebody up, found him some ice, given him something to eat. They basically handled the situation, and
Yeah.
not one of them left till I turned up. I didn't know 4 of their names. That really is
Right.
community,
The power.
right?
Yes.
That exactly. So whether it's your building, it's your school friends, it's your, these networks that we are today part of, thanks to digital,
Yes.
all of these are our communities. That being said, I would say one thing. Uh, I think it's important to find the right communities to be part of,
Yeah.
because otherwise it can be a little noisy. And
Yes.
busy as our lives are, I
Yeah.
don't think we can do justice to any and every
Yeah.
kind of group that we belong to.
True.
So I think being mindful of which communities you are actively participating in is
Yeah.
also an important thing to kind of keep in mind.
Yes, no, completely agree with you, Roonam, on this. That's what I was telling when I, started. We might be a part of so many groups, and with WhatsApp, like digital, there might be 20 groups, 20 or even more, like, that we are part of. But, finding that inner circle, within that group, or actually where you can actually bring value. I mean, that's also very crucial, right? Otherwise, there's a lot of noise, like you said. No, thanks, Roonam, for your 2 cents on that. And I'm sure we have so many community leader, Kanchan has built Inspire, Chitra has built women sales, women mentoring. So these platforms are so inspiring, right? We have met each other through these platforms. So I mean, I'm sure everyone who's viewing us today would agree to this. Shikha, your thoughts. And hi, Jagat, thank you for joining us. We'll come to you in a bit. Yeah.
You see, everything Roonam had said, everything you've said is already said, and that's
Yeah.
already known, and that's already a fact that everybody agrees to.
Yeah.
If I have to add something, I can just, I was reading this book called The Mole, the Fox, and I don't know how many of you have read The Horse, the Mole, and the Fox. There's a beautiful book. In that, this wise horse, this boy who's lost, who asks this wise horse, who he finds on his way in the jungle, that what's the most courageous thing you've done? And the horse says, ask for help. And because asking for help does not mean you're giving up. Asking for help means you refuse to give up.
Yeah.
And that is where we need to come up in a community. We need to come with first acceptance of help. If my observation is today, we started associating our professions with us. I am a photographer. I am this. That's who we've become, but we are not that. And when you go to a community or you create a community, you need to figure out that this community is just not to drop links, to have contacts, to go to interviews. This community is to genuinely bring the race together, to have the courage to ask for help, like she mentioned about her dad, father-in-law, and to bring that whole thing together in a way that the ripple effect would be business, the ripple effect would be growth, the ripple effect, everything would be that. Because if I know you well, Ayushree, I will tell everybody about Ayushree. This is who Ayushree is, and I vouch for her. Today, we can't vouch just because we are in a close-knit community. We meet for some drinks and we meet for some events together. And I'm very proud that mom, like we cry together on stage, reading each other's stories when we come together. We are holding on to it. And my main focus is, what do you need? Are you okay? That's where the communities have to go, even if they're business communities, even if they're communities where we're dropping links. Just saying, yes, we are 1,000 people in a community. Yes, we had a great time, and then drop links to each other and say, let's just do it. It's not working out. People think it's working out. It's not working out. We've taken the soul of the community out. We've taken the spirit of the community out. We've just put it under this business thing and say, okay, I exit the community because I get no business. It's not like that. It's not like that. And this is the only message I want to give you. Build the community. Community building takes time, but the ripple effect will be very fast the minute it has, not only to your business, but to your personal life, to your children, to yourself, and your growth. So don't have this notion that we need to get, we need to give, and we shall receive. And that's the only way the community works. So we need to, that's the one part that people don't openly want to talk and accept. And I just thought I'll put that right there.
Yeah. No, thanks, Shikha. And like you said, that's that's a fresh perspective that you got, and thanks for sharing that. Completely agree how, without, there always doesn't have to be a professional motive towards being a part of this communities that we are a part of. Jagat, I'd like to, hear your thoughts on this too. The only reason being because we at Vidphone also talk a lot about communities, right? Building communities, nurturing them. So, would you like to add anything to what Roonam and Shikha said? And thank you for joining us, Jagat, again.
No, pleasure's all mine, and kudos to you again. What a wonderful series, and so many viewers. I want to thank all of the viewers who have come and spent your precious time with us. A lot of people watch this also recorded.
Yeah.
But people have come in live. I think a special shout out to all of you for taking time and helping build a small ecosystem that we're building.
Yeah.
I've been making some notes, on my pad, things that are going on. I always make notes.
Yeah.
See, I think, number one, the women's initiative that you're doing, just on the same context.
Yeah.
I've always said this before. One of my biggest inspirations is my mom.
Yeah.
I remember when I was, probably 6-7 years old, going with her on the two-wheeler to her workplace, and she was working at a really large, I don't know if you guys know of Med India. Basically, it was a company of one of the big minister's sons.
Yeah.
And it was in Jalahalli in Bangalore. If you know Jalahalli, it's quite far. And I'm talking 30 years back.
Yeah.
It was really, and we were in Rajajinagar. My mom would go every day on her two-wheeler after, packing off my dad to his office. And if I was at home, she would take me along.
Yeah.
Got me introduced to professional life itself, more than my dad.
Yeah.
Even before my dad. Now, I would say more is my dad, but before my dad.
Yeah.
So office, and she was the only lady in a whole bunch of, male-dominated workplace, what you can call these days.
Yeah.
And so the way she carried out her business was so fantastic. Even till today, I think she's got the best handwriting in the world I've ever seen. Learned a lot from, so my mom, as you know, Chandni and I, we started together 2010. She's my wife. So, and she was my wife then, I think it started professionally. She was a designer, UI, and I said, come on, let's build this social commerce in 2010.
Yeah.
My sister, who is also, completely a full-time working, in various companies. So one of the things is, yes, this women's initiative we are doing is not just to kind of say only, I would like this to be the normal, to be honest with you.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
We're doing it because it's unfortunately not normal.
Yeah.
And coming from my kind of where I grew up, my family, and I was, National Public School, Christ College here in Bangalore. It's always we don't really discriminate ever, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So when I went to UP and I found out this real gap in India.
Yeah.
And true, it exists. So that's when I feel what you're doing is very powerful.
Yeah.
It could have been a small thing, but we're continuing this. I'm so happy about that. First of all, I want to thank Shikha and Rupam for really enlightening the whole conversation with your experience.
Yeah.
So this has to become the new normal, which is why we are doing this. Hopefully, we will do it till it becomes the new normal.
Yeah.
It was a proud moment for me when, I think you and Chandni were at the, Ritz today, with, representing us.
Yeah.
Wonderful to see both of you, represent Vidphone. I think I'm very, it is a very proud moment in my, career.
Yeah.
That's the best way, I think, for me as a non-woman, as a man, is only play my small part in enabling you guys to do your thing. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks, Jagat. And like Shikha said, a shout out to all men, like Shikha has said, for her dad, and to men like you, and, privileged are we, where we have supported families, dads, husbands, who have supported the journey, right? I mean, it's both, right? That's where equality comes, I think, right? And equity.
That's the job you're doing. I can't imagine a guy doing such a good job as you're doing. So also business sense to us.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Jagat, for your. So, Roonam, coming back to you, we are almost at the end. I have a quick 2 questions because I feel they are really important that we, discuss those 2. And one is, Roonam, now we discussed all about your journey, the communities, your customers, but challenges, Roonam, a few challenges that you'd like to, share, and, how you overcame them, or, some habits that you built over the years and you'd like to, tell others about it.
Well, since we're talking about equity, I think I'll pick up one of those kind of challenges. Successful as we are and supportive as our families may be, and we're in Bangalore, which is probably one of the most evolved cities in this country, maybe even the world. Be that as it may, I think bias exists everywhere. It is incorrect for us to presume that women in Bangalore today who are empowered
Yeah.
or who are even sitting, at the top, don't face bias. And bias comes in very, very different ways, right? And I'll give you a very harmless example of it. Uh, I have a colleague, a very, very well-meaning guy, very nice guy, nothing wrong with him. But every time he calls me up, his first question is about how my child is doing. But he doesn't do that when he calls any of his male colleagues, who we all know have kids, right? And this is, like I said, it's a harmless example. But the fact is that women are treated differently.
Yeah.
And some of it is, it's just people trying to be nice.
Yeah.
And some of it is outright to put you down. So they're different kinds. It manifests in different ways.
Yeah.
But the fact is that bias exists. And the way I deal with it is when I see bias that is ubiquitous or that is potentially harmful to me or to anyone else, I call it out.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't have to be bias against women. It can be any kinds of bias. It can be religious, it can be color, it can be sexist, it can be even ageist.
Yeah.
Right? So regardless of what it is, but I think it is our duty when we catch it to just point it out.
True.
And sometimes when it's not intended to be harmful, people acknowledge, step back, and just make the change.
Yeah.
So I think that is an ongoing challenge. It just continues to be there.
Yeah.
And I think the other challenge, of course, for me at least, because I am currently part of a proper corporate system, is the fact that I'm a working mom. So summer holidays are a challenge, illnesses are a challenge, bad moods, tantrums are a challenge. Sometimes dinner time is a challenge. My husband came right now to ask, our kid wants to eat dinner. What should I do? Feed her. But the answer to that challenge is, I think, building on what Shikha said, ask for help.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's your nanny, sometimes it's your community, sometimes it's your husband, sometimes it's your mom. Help comes in many ways if you're willing to open your eyes and look around. And many, many, many times it's your kid itself.
Yeah.
Before I started this call, I told her 6 to 7, I have this interview that I'm giving. I can't have noise around me.
Yeah.
So be in your room. If you come around, just don't be noisy.
Noisy. Yeah.
And she's been in her room and she sent her father out to get her meal when she was ready for it.
Yeah.
So our kids can be our biggest helpers if we just. And she's 5, so it's not like it's a big, it's an older child.
Yes.
She's just 5, but she's capable of helping me when needed.
No, thanks, Roonam. Lovely knowing about your daughter who is not. Yeah, you were also saying that no, she might just come. You'd have loved to see her though. There's no issue at all. Like Jagat also wrote, in the comments. So hi to her. And Roonam, like you said, on one of the sessions, and I also had this, as a part of on some of the sessions, I do mention this. Financial inclusion and women empowerment are not. They might. I mean, if you are financially independent, it doesn't mean you are empowered. A woman. So there was this thing that was shared. They share. I mean, like you said, there's some bias that does exist. Even for a CEO of a company, she's obviously financially independent, right? But that empowerment is there's still some lag. Like you said, there's still some gaps that need to be filled. It might be, and there's. I mean, as a community, as a society, we'll have to work towards it. But yeah, anything you'd like to add to this, Roonam, before I move on to Shikha?
I think you're absolutely right. Though that's not true in my case. I think women have to. The women who are financially independent and not empowered.
Yeah.
I think probably need to grab that empowerment because no one is going to give it to them.
Yeah.
There is one section of society that is not empowered because they're not financially contributing to their families. And that's bad enough. I mean, that's not right either.
Yeah.
But if you are contributing financially to your family and you're still not empowered, I think then it is time to take the bull by its horn and grab that empowerment for yourself. Of course, it's easier said than done. And, sitting in this nice house in a air-conditioned room, it's much easier to say it than, it is for some people to do it. But I'll give an example. I'm a mentor to a few women, different kinds of women, etc. One of my mentees once said to me that she was expecting her second child, and her mother-in-law would not allow her to work. And her husband agreed with her mother-in-law. And this went on a loop for an hour. And she said, but she won't allow me. I've tried this. Anything I suggest. And she's like, I've done it. I've done it. I've done it. And she won't allow me. And finally I said, what does allow mean? Is she going to jail you? Is she going to handcuff you? Is she going to tie you to your bed? She started laughing. She said, no, obviously not. I said, then, figure out how to take care of your child and get out of the house and do what you have to do. What does allow mean for a 40-year-old woman who's expecting a second child? What does allow mean? You get your salary in your bank account. Do what you have to do with it. And maybe it means some fights. And sometimes in extreme cases, it means you have to walk out. But, no one can help you if you aren't willing to kind of grab for yourself what you deserve.
True. No, and this was a similar discussion we had in one of the sessions. And in fact, Sri Lakshmi, who put out, she wanted really to talk about this. What you just said, you have to grab that opportunity, because we are already financially independent, that it already makes the work a little easier for us than a lot other women who are not even that yet. So thanks, Roonam. Over to you, Shikha, your thoughts, on this, a few challenges that you think you are facing, and any thoughts, any suggestions or habits that you have built over the years to, navigate through those.
I just, the quality part can just go on and on. I just think that we can just go on this topic and sometimes compliment each other, sometimes just keep going at each other and just never stop, because it's not going to stop. It's never going to stop. But I must, if I have to point out a challenge that I cross, is waking up every morning and then working on yourself all over again. Because every time you wake up, you're falling back to your old habits. You're falling back to your old, habit of wanting to do something which you don't want to do. I will not do this. I will not behave like a victim. I will not behave like this. I will be a better mom. When this morning happens and then suddenly then you crash down again and say, how did I do it? I decided not to do it. So a lot of self-work needs to be done, whether it's a woman or a man.
Yeah.
The only thing we're not doing is we're not working on our stories, on ourselves. Because once you're a light, the only thing happens to the world is it gets lit up around you. And if that is the basic thing that we all can understand, we will move forward, creating impact without conversations, without examples, without telling anybody this is right, this is wrong. It will show the way we live, and the people around us would want to be like us, but the work is yours to do.
True.
And for that, you need to criticize your own self first, and then elevate yourself and compliment yourself that you want to work towards it. So I feel that's the real challenge, and that's something nobody's talking about. In terms of equality, like, women are not supporting women as well.
Yeah.
I find more men supporting women than I find more women supporting women.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I see. And when getting these mothers together, I want people to stop judging mothers, saying this is not a good mother, this is not a bad mother. She doesn't want to, she wants, like, I was called an obsessive mother at one point in time. I'm an obsessive mother, and I'm a proud obsessive mother. I want to obsess over my children. But what do you know about my background as a child that you are judging me today? Yeah. I've not had a mother. Yeah. Nobody's asking me what me as a child is. Why am I obsessing about my children? Yeah. Right? Or some mother who's working out after leaving the child at 40 days. What is her, driving force? What is she doing? Why is she doing what she's doing? Yeah. So the judgments are, never ending. Yeah. The conversations are never ending. The equality conversation will always happen. The only solution is come back, become the flower that shines, so that the other person looks at you and say, I want to be like you. And that's the work. Yeah. That's the work we all need to do, and we all need to tell our children to do. Yeah. So that one fine day, the whole world is illuminated, and even the economic thing, it will go right there, because the help's coming into your house will be like, we want to be like you. The other person will envy, because you can't, if you're a light, you cannot not emit light and create light. Yeah. It's the darkness that creates more darkness. It's the light that creates more light. So that's what I just think is a real challenge that I face. Yeah. To become the light every single day, and drop every day, and every day morning get up and say, you decided, so walk.
Yeah.
That's part of
No, no, thanks, Shikha. And a very key point that you raised, and Runam that time said that it's very important to accept, our mistakes sometimes, and then work on them. But you have also brought the point here where it's important to just not in front of others, but in for us also, accept our mistakes, like for us, just for us, and then work on it. So
Yeah.
these are like two very crucial things. And thank you so much, Shikha and Runam, for beautifully, sharing your journeys with us, being so candid on the show, and lovely, lovely speaking to you both. I really the 1 hour just flew by, really the very nice stories. And just one last question before we end. And Jagat, I would like your thoughts also on this. Like, we generally speak about this, because after COVID, I feel this is very key. These are very key questions for all whoever is watching us, also for businesses too. So, Roonam, we know that the world has gone, it went virtual, and now it's coming back to hybrid, right? So the importance of tools, Roonam, in your organization or in your life, like, what are few tools that you use, or you'd like to uh, suggest others to, the importance of tools in this new hybrid world? Your 2 cents on that.
I am not sure if I am the best person to answer this. I am a very basic person. I still use the tools that are most ubiquitous. I use Google Meet, I use Gmail, I use Excel. I live on an Excel. Everything is planned on an Excel,
Yeah.
and sometimes on pen and paper. That being said, I think there are tools that exist that can make life much easier. I'm starting to experiment with some of them, and I know that my team uses a lot more. Things like Canva, things like ChatGPT. People in my team definitely use a lot of the tools that are available today,
Yeah.
and I think it's not just about. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
COVID made everything move faster and compress time in certain ways.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think what these tools do is they take away the mundane and then
Yeah.
they leave room for creativity. And actually, Shikha is nodding along, so I'm sure she'll have a artist view to add to it. But I think for any artist, and I'm a writer myself, so if you can take the mundane away and then leave room
Yeah.
to improve upon what is easily available
Yeah.
to everyone,
Yeah.
I think the next level of evolution, whether it's on art, whether it's on writing, literature, philosophy, or even business tools, I think the next level will come out of this burst of technology and tools that we're seeing today.
True, true. No, thanks, Roonam. And, we would completely agree with you. And, I don't think there's anything basic, like, when you said, I mean, it's all required, right, to optimize your work. You're using them to optimize your work, obviously. And so, Shikha, over to you, like Roonam said, we are sure you'll have something nice to add to this.
Um, I, I'm a drive. I love to drive. I love to go out. I love to do all these things. But yes, once you're a mother, you need more time. And the mundane stuff that she's talking about, you need to be, at the same time, you need to be inspired. And that all the time waste that happens today when you're going somewhere trying to do things, and the impossible of saying no all the time, I can't be here, I can't be here, nobody's there to take care of my child, and all that is possible thanks to this. Like having a 4 month in my hand, still breastfeeding and just doing my sleepless nights, and able to connect to these 100 women across the world,
Yeah.
and these women coming all the way from their countries to come and tell their story. It was not
Yeah.
possible if this hybrid model, this model was not there.
Yeah.
So and I think the more of that needs to happen for people to start believing
Yeah.
that there is an authentic way of using these tools.
Yeah.
Right, sitting down and having a conversation that this is all going down, we're becoming robotic and all that is okay.
Yeah.
But unless we take the steps and we start showing the world that this is how you use this tool, we will always fall into this trap that this is good, this is not good, this is
Yeah.
bad, this is not bad. And all the discrimination talks we keep doing will never end.
Yeah.
If I have a mom in the book, so photographers are going to be gone, 100%. I have a mom in the book who's adopted two Chinese kids, very beautiful mom, and she is a virtual photographer.
Okay.
So I was like, what are you? I said, okay, let me test you, because I have very high standards with light. I'm touch wood, I'm very proud of my lighting and very proud of my quality. And I, as a family, have not found a photographer like me who can get emotions out.
Yeah.
I'm just not trying to, say things. The fact is, inside my heart, I wanted a photographer like me who
Yeah.
can see that inner light in me and bring my children and my husband like that, the way I can bring in other people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here I find this somebody sitting in US saying to me that I can take pictures. I'm like, all right, $47 is a discount thing. I pay for it right now. That's $47.
Yeah.
And she says, okay, we turn up. We are all dressed up. And of course, I'm a photographer, so I knew what to wear and I knew where to go. She comes up with her laptop and she takes the charge of my phone, right? And she starts to shoot and she starts to talk to my children and she's talking to everybody. She's making us laugh and she's telling us, yeah, this idea is good and this idea is not good. And the results are shocking. The quality is shocking. It's unbelievable. And I finally found somebody across the world in US sitting at 12 o'clock in the night taking my pictures, thanks to this model, which I couldn't find in 25 years in person in India, sitting here doing that. So that's magic, that's magic. And that's the way the world is becoming very small. So we can do magic like that, and she's done it with many kids. So this is just one of the examples. The second example of me having 75-year-old or 77-year-old coming all the way from there. We had that 100-year-old we lost who was live with us at the event, tried to tell her story, to us. We shouldn't even thought, like, what has she done? She's just a mother at 100 years. She's sitting, almost going to the hospital, situation, and sitting and telling her story. Not possible. If I even thought of this idea, it would have taken me 45 years plus to finish it, which I just did in a short span of 1.5 years. So I'm very pro it. And I'm very pro trying to become an example that it is not taking us down. It takes us up, do it the right way.
Yeah. No, thanks, Shikha. And, that's what I think, that's what tools and technology are for, to help you optimize and really, scale across the world. I mean, what you are building today, you can take it to the world because of this. So thank you so much. And Jagat, coming to you here, and your thoughts on this. And and sorry everyone, we are a little over time, but we have been having very interesting conversations. So with this, we would be ending our talk today. But Jagat, your views before we, end for the day.
Thank you. And I also apologize to all the kids who are getting delayed dinner. And shout out to your husband as well. So thanks for cooperating. I'll be very brief. I of course love tools. Otherwise, I wouldn't be building it. Vidphone, of course, it would not do justice if I say I wasn't for what we were building. I think one of the biggest advantages or the biggest beneficiaries of these whole tools have been the women workforce in the world. I think that's something that's come by research, where there's a lot of time travel that's being cut, and people are able to work and be more productive from home. So I think these are ways to unleash a lot of this in India. Again, there is a lot of, I would say, the bias aspect which is there, but let's just take a moment and look at our country. The president is a lady. The Minister of Finance is a lady. And I think so that's right at the top. I mean, I'm not giving any political bias here, but it's really a great example for us to see that the President of India, the Minister of Finance, we're talking about financial inclusion, who better than Sitaraman, for example. So I think, and all of you wonderful ladies, and all of the others who have come, and so many entrepreneurs that I know personally, I think we are on the right track, and I'm super happy and excited to be part of it and learn from you guys. So tools, I think I've heard quite a few ladies also, like seems to be, to me, I mean, maybe it's naive, but there is an apprehension to try new tools a little bit because of information overdose. I always say, like, small steps, just one change at a time. Same thing, like I think Shika, we all wake up early, in the morning, and we got to almost go back to scratch because our so-called mental grooves are so set in the ways, right, of what we were yesterday. That's one of the hardest things to do. So one change at a time. Percent change is what we look to do, and make it very, very effortless, right? I know a neighbor of mine, just to share with you, wanted, of course, many women have the weight loss, they want to work on this, especially post pregnancy, and she says, I'm like reasonably, Jagat, you never gain weight. I said, like, okay, it's not very difficult. She said, Jagat, no, I'm going to this class and all this. I said, forget all that, you're not going to continue it, it's a waste of money. Just start walking for 5 minutes every day. That's it. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, just walk and stop. And I'm super happy. I just met her a little earlier today, and she's very, very excited with her progress. She does about half an hour today, and that's wonderful. So small changes. We are super happy to support that. As part of Vidphone, as everyone knows, for all the women entrepreneurs, we're opening out this whole platform, completely free. Nothing here that, apart from probably collaborating. I don't see anything beyond that I want to achieve here. We just want to give do our best or do a little bit to kind of promote this ecosystem. And Ayushree, again, awesome job. I think, like Rupam was saying, creativity is going to be the next productivity. We have seen this productivity era taken us so far, but I think as we go forward, it's over to people like Shikha and others who are more on the creative side. I think that's very important for us to lead technology as well.
Yeah. No, thanks, Jagat, and completely agree with you. What we are building this community, and what we are building at Vidphone also is people for actually helping founders, leaders in the area to actually try them out. Help you with your work, with your daily work, optimize, etc. So please do have a look at the website, and we are here to help you. And just build the community together, like Jagat said. The monetary things come much later on. Collaboration is what we are looking at to actually be a part of your stories. So thanks again, thanks Jagat, thank you so much Roonam and Shikha, and for giving us your time today. And sorry again, like Jagat said, to your kids and to your families that we exceeded, but this shows that this has been one of the most interesting interviews that we have had. And thank you both so much. The recording would be available on the same link and also on all across our channels on social media, so please feel free to share with your friends and networks who might have missed it. So thank you again. Looking forward to collaborate and be a part of this community together. Thank you, Roonam, thank you, Shikha.
Absolutely, it was an absolute pleasure to be here, and Shikha, it was lovely getting to know you.
Same here, Roonam. Thank you so
much. I feel like
much.
we're old friends now.
Oh yes, that's what the effort of the community is. You should start becoming friends and feel like that.
Yeah, this is another thing, right? Through the Vidphone show, the speakers, you guys meet and become friends. I mean, that's another, because last time also we had two speakers, by the end of the show, they felt like, they have known each other since long. So yeah, thanks for that. You take that as a compliment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're going to steal the old Nokia line, connecting people.
Yeah.
Connecting people, right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Have a nice evening, everybody.
Same to
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone who joined us. Thank you, all our viewers. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bye. Thanks, Jagat. Bye.